Picture this. You are in a room with two babies. One is being passed from person to person, looking at the lights, taking in all the noise, and maybe even giving a little smile through it all. People laugh and say, "What an easy baby." A few feet away, another baby tightens up the moment a new face comes close. The little hands spread wide open. The breathing shifts. The room gets noisier. A touch goes on just a bit too long. And suddenly that baby is crying like something in the world has gone completely wrong. And almost immediately the grown-ups around them create a story. This one is calm. That one is trouble. This one is a blessing. That one is a problem waiting to be fixed. But what if that story is not true? What if the baby everyone calls easy is not well behaved because the parents are doing something magical? And the baby everyone calls difficult is not being dramatic, spoiled, or already choosing to be hard? What if underneath those labels you are actually watching something much deeper? Not attitude, not manipulation, not bad behavior. A nervous system meeting this world for the very first time. That is the part most people never see. Because baby behavior looks like emotion on the outside, but most of the time it is neurology on the inside. The crying, the sudden flinching, the need to always be held, the refusal to be put down, the baby who sleeps anywhere, the baby who wakes up at the softest sound, the one who smiles big at every stranger, the one who hides their face in your chest like the room itself is too much to take. These things do not just show you how a baby is acting. They show you how a baby is taking in the world. And once you understand that, the whole idea of an easy baby or a difficult baby begins to look very different. The common thinking makes sense on the surface. If one baby calms down faster, sleeps on a schedule, adjusts more easily and does not cry as hard, of course adults find that baby easier to handle. And if another baby seems more sensitive, reacts more strongly, gets thrown off by hunger, noise, bright light, a change in routine, an unfamiliar face, or being put down at the wrong second, of course that feels much harder to manage. But harder for the adult does not automatically mean something is broken in the baby. That difference matters a lot. Decades ago, a psychiatrist named Alexander Thomas and a researcher named Stella Chess followed children over many years and became well known for identifying different patterns of temperament. Their work helped spread terms like easy, difficult, and slow to warm up. But the real gift of their research was not the labels. It was the discovery that babies are born already different from one another. Different in how intense they are, how well they adjust, how regular their patterns are, how much it takes to bother them, what kind of mood they naturally carry, how sensitive they are to the world around them. In other words, babies do not come into this world as blank, identical systems just waiting for parenting to shape everything. From very early on, some babies are more sensitive to change, more alert to new things, more disrupted by too much stimulation, more intense in how they show that something is wrong. Others seem more settled, more flexible, easier to soothe, or simply harder to shake. That does not mean parenting has no effect. It has a huge effect. But it does mean that every baby does not start from the same place. And that can bring enormous relief, because so many parents carry a quiet guilt inside them. Why is my baby so much harder than other babies? What am I doing wrong? Sometimes the answer is not that you created this sensitivity. Sometimes you are raising a baby whose brain and body simply feel the world at a much louder volume. That idea becomes even more meaningful when you look at later research on temperament. Jerome Kagan, a developmental psychologist, studied babies who reacted strongly to new sights, new sounds, and new smells. Some babies kicked more, cried more, arched their backs more, startled more easily. He described many of them as high-reactive. Over time, some of those children were more likely to become careful or hesitant around new things. That did not mean their future was decided. It was not. But it does mean that what adults often call fussy can be an early signal of a nervous system that picks up on differences quickly and responds with full force. Think about how powerful that shift in thinking really is. The baby who breaks down when a room gets loud may not be weak. The baby who cries when handed to a stranger may not be unfriendly. The baby who fights against sudden changes may not be stubborn. That baby may simply be taking in more information faster, with almost no filter at all. And on the other side, the baby who handles change without much trouble may not be emotionally healthier in any deep or meaningful way. Their system may just be less reactive in that moment, more protected, more able to absorb stimulation before reaching a breaking point. Neither baby is better. They are simply different. And that difference does not only live in how they behave. It lives in their biology. A baby's brain is still unfinished in the most important way. The parts that handle self-regulation are still being built. The areas of the brain that will later help with calming down, redirecting attention, and managing emotions are not yet fully developed. So when a baby reaches the point of overwhelm, they cannot simply decide to pull themselves back together. They need someone from the outside to help them do it. This is why the earliest months of life are so deeply relational. Babies borrow regulation before they are able to build it themselves. Your voice, your face, your touch, your timing, your rhythm, the way you lift them up, the way you pause and wait, the way you catch the early warning signs before things fully fall apart, all of that is doing quiet, invisible work deep inside their nervous system. And this is where another common misunderstanding falls completely apart. People often assume that the easy baby is proof that the parents are doing everything right, while the difficult baby is somehow pushing back against good care. But what attachment science tells us is far more layered than that. Mary Ainsworth's research on attachment showed that secure babies are not the babies who never get upset. In fact, securely attached babies often do cry when separated from their caregiver. They care about that person being gone. They make it known. And when the caregiver comes back, they are more likely to use that relationship to find their way back to calm. That matters deeply because a crying baby is often seen as proof that something is going wrong. Sometimes it is proof that something matters very much. The baby who cries the moment you walk away is not rating your performance. That baby is showing you that their brain already counts on you to be part of how they manage their feelings. And the baby who reacts strongly when you disappear, or when the connection breaks for even a moment, may be showing you just how seriously their growing system takes the bond between you. Still face experiments made this impossible to forget. When a caregiver suddenly goes emotionally blank, even for just a short moment, babies notice right away. They try to bring the person back. They push harder. They protest. They are not small, passive beings drifting through early life without awareness. They are watching, reading, reaching out, depending completely. So when a baby suddenly becomes hard to handle, one quiet question is often worth asking. What changed around them? Too much noise. Too much that is new. Not enough warning. Not enough closeness. A window missed. A body that moved from tired to completely overwhelmed in just minutes. What looks random is usually following a pattern. What looks personal is usually physical. What looks like too much is usually a nervous system saying, I have gone past what I can hold. That, to me, is one of the most powerful ways to look at early development. A so-called difficult baby is often not handing you a harder personality. They are handing you clearer information. They tell you sooner, louder, and more honestly. When something feels like too much to carry. And yes, that can be draining. Deeply draining. But it can also create a kind of closeness that is forced and real. Because a highly reactive baby often pulls adults into a more careful kind of attention. You start learning the small signals. The blank stare that tells you too much stimulation is coming. The yawn that is not really about being tired but about stress building up. The little turn of the head just before the tears begin. The exact type of bouncing that actually helps. And the exact type that makes everything worse. In that way, some of the babies we call difficult are actually teaching us to become skilled readers of the human nervous system. There is another layer to this, and it is an important one. An easy baby can also be misread. Not because their calmness is not real, but because quiet babies are sometimes treated as if they need less. Less soothing, less engagement, less checking in on. They seem fine, so adults assume they are fine. But all babies, even the settled ones, build their brains through back and forth connection, through being seen, through shared attention, through emotional presence from the people around them. So the real question is not which baby is better. It is whether the adults around that baby truly understand what kind of baby they are actually with. Thomas and Chess had a phrase for this, goodness of fit. That phrase deserves to be far more widely known than it is. Goodness of fit means that development is shaped not only by the baby's own temperament, and not only by the environment around them, but by how well the two actually match each other. A highly sensitive baby placed in a fast, loud, overwhelming environment may seem more and more distressed as time goes on. That same baby in a calmer, more consistent, more attuned setting may look like a completely different child. Not because their temperament disappeared, but because the environment stopped clashing with it at every turn. And a more adaptable baby may do well in many different settings, but still needs real emotional connection to truly grow. This is why labels can cause so much quiet damage. If a baby is called difficult, adults can start approaching them with tension even before the baby has done anything. They brace themselves, rush things, overcorrect, and take the crying as something personal. The entire interaction gets colored by what they are already expecting. But if that same baby is understood as sensitive, easily overwhelmed, high-reactive, or simply needing more time to adjust, the adult shifts. The room shifts. The pace shifts. Suddenly there is more time given before transitions, more buffering built in, more space to recover, less judgment about what it all means. And that can change the entire relationship. Because temperament is real, but it is not destiny. A baby who reacts with full intensity is not locked into a life of struggle. With repeated moments of shared calming, of predictability, and of repair after a hard moment, the nervous system learns. Not perfectly, not quickly, but slowly and steadily. This is one of the quiet wonders of early development. Soothing that comes from the outside gradually becomes structure that lives on the inside. The baby is not simply having moments. The baby is building patterns, and those patterns become part of how they face everything that comes next. Still, there is a real tension point worth holding onto. Not every intense baby is simply full of spirit, and not every easy baby should automatically be seen as doing well. Patterns matter far more than single moments. What you want to watch for is movement. Can the baby calm down with help even if it takes a while? Do they have stretches of relaxed, alert wakefulness? Do they respond to voices, faces, touch, and familiar rhythms? Do they slowly adjust to things they have experienced before, even if the adjustment is gradual? Is there a pattern you can begin to read, or does everything feel endlessly off no matter what? If a baby seems consistently unable to settle, rarely connects, loses abilities they had before, shows feeding or sleeping difficulties so extreme that growth or daily life is being seriously affected, or if something inside you keeps telling you this is beyond temperament, that feeling is worth listening to. Not as a reason to panic, but as information worth taking seriously. Because baby behavior is not just noise. It is data coming from a developing human system. And perhaps that is the deepest message in all of this. The baby in front of you is not simply being easy or difficult. That baby is showing you how their brain picks up on new things, how their body manages stimulation, how fast they move toward distress, how strongly they depend on someone else to help them find their way back to calm, how urgently they reach out for help, how they are already beginning to make sense of experience itself. You are not simply managing moods. You are meeting a mind in its very earliest form. So the next time someone looks at a baby and says, "She's so easy," or "He's so difficult," it may be worth hearing what those words really mean beneath the surface. This baby has a wider window for stimulation. This baby has a narrower one. This baby adjusts quickly. This baby needs more time. This baby can take in more before sending a signal. This baby sends the signal the moment the world starts to feel too big. None of that is small, and none of it is a final judgment. Sometimes the baby who cries at everything is the baby who will one day notice everything. The child who reads a room the moment they walk in. The one who feels things at great depth. The one who needs time before trusting, but once they feel safe, connects with a kind of intensity that is truly extraordinary. Sometimes the easy baby grows into the person who brings a steady grounding calm into every space they enter. The point is not to make one sound wonderful and the other sound lesser. The point is to see both of them clearly. Because when you stop asking, "Why is this baby so hard?" and start asking, "What is this baby's nervous system trying to tell me?" something shifts. There is less blame, less shame, less fear that you are falling short. And more curiosity, more precision, more genuine care. What looked like an inconvenience starts to look like communication. What looked like chaos starts to look like a pattern. What looked like personality alone starts to reveal development happening right in front of you. And for a parent or caregiver, that shift is everything. It means ordinary moments stop feeling ordinary. The cry in the middle of a shop. The baby who cannot handle being passed around. The one who only settles when pressed against your chest. The one who surprises everyone by sleeping right through the noise. The one who completely falls apart every evening without fail. None of it is without meaning. It is the developing human mind showing you who it is before it ever has the words to say so. If this changed the way you see a baby in your life, I would love to know which behavior finally makes sense to you now. And if you enjoy this kind of deeper science-backed look at the small moments of early life, subscribe, because there is so much more hiding inside these tiny behaviors than most people ever stop to notice.